Patrick Deely, good morning to you.
Morning, Keith. How are you?
I am great. Sorry we're a little bit late getting to you. Groundswell, new and selected poems by Patrick Deely. It's a beautiful production, so it is, Patrick. How long did it take you to put together?
Well, I suppose, Keith, it's new and selected, so that although there are a lot of new poems there, it's really the best work I've written over the last 30 years in terms of poems. So, and maybe a lifetime in terms of experience.
And what is it about Loughrea natives and Loughrea in general when it comes to poetry? They seem to have a great interest, because you grew up in Loughrea, so you did.
I grew up outside Loughrea in Foxhall, a little village or townland in the parish of Mulla, about 8 miles from Loughrea. And I suppose it's an interesting landscape, and the oral tradition is very strong there. From my own point of view, my father was a carpenter and hurley maker. He loved, as he says, following tractors and smathering with machines. And he made farm implements, household furniture. He even made coffins for a while. While he did that, my mother was a farmer mainly. And in the background there was writers. My grandmother, Molly Head, which is a lovely name for her. She's from Killeorn, was from Killeorn. She wrote ballads and was a published ballad maker. And then there was Seamus O'Kelly from Mawpeel in Loughrea, who's a well-known writer and whose great story, The Weaver's Grave, is compared to Russian writer Chekhov, which is high praise indeed.
Absolutely.
So it was always there in the background for me, and I think the interesting landscape, the people love talk and the stories they tell, and that certainly affected me, Keith, and brought me to writing, and the craft skills as well from home. My neighbours, Mrs. Hagney was my godmother, and she was a seamstress and a dressmaker, and Mrs. Hawke was acted as a midwife locally for the women, because mostly children were born at home, and everyone had their skills, and when I wasn't much good as a carpenter, I turned myself to maybe writing about the skills and the crafts, and poetry enabled me to do that.
And then you went into teaching as well. I mean, you're a retired primary school teacher.
I've retired fairly recently as a principal in De La Salle. I was principal of a large school in Ballyfermot, De La Salle, Ballyfermot, which a job I loved very much, and I did that basically. I retired early because I wanted to devote more time to the writing. I've always been writing while I was teaching, if you know what I mean, and as a principal I used to write at night, and now I'm trying to write in the daylight.
I was flicking through last evening, but Sweeping the Chimney, very close to my own heart, the poem Sweeping the Chimney as well.
Right.
But what you do is you summarise in the poem. I don't have a book in front of you.
I have, Keith, yes.
It's on page 165. You could take us through it. You can read it for us. But you actually take the art of cleaning the chimney and you put it into poetry, and you make a wonderful job of it.
Thank you. It's a job I do myself, Keith. I suppose I've learned that kind of resourcefulness from my family and from my background in Galway as well, because in the 60s and that, you'd have to do for yourself, if you know what I mean. And so rather than paying someone else to do it, get buy your own sweeping brush and so on and get cracking at it. And it's a job I don't like, but I do it. And then I remember my father used to do that, and that's a mix of memories, his and the background memories, combined with my own doing of the thing.
Will you take us through it, would you mind?
I will, yes. Well, basically, it's just addressed to myself in the form of writing or talking to you, and it's called Sweeping the Chimney, and it kind of takes stock of life domestically in a house here in Dublin with my children and so on, and time passing, I suppose. Sweeping the chimney. You work rods and brush, knacks, angles, tactics. A tarpaulin sheet with a hole in it splits. Granite fire bricks peak. A wrought iron grate at your heel upends. Downpour of soot commences. Twig clatter. Tumble of jackdaw eggs won't deter, nor yet the sweat breaking on your brow. For you delve in a reverie of discovering the first fire. You dream the nights that charm, a cosy heart to which, safe and sound, you and yours always return. But still the whispering suit insists there's a limit to the number of nights. Your children grow away. Their shoes and books and CDs, casually scattered as if no greater displacements ever to happen, soon must be tidied for good. And fret takes root, making you push through to the top sunlight, the give that happens when you least expect. So you collapse forward, whistling softly to the thin chimney, listening out.
It's beautifully written, so you have a lovely style, so you have, Patrick.
Thank you.
of writing. And I clean my own chimney. There was a man, very good man, used to clean it. But for other reasons, because I forget to call him, and otherwise I clean my own chimney.
Sure.
And it's one job that I hate, and it's under the nails then for 3 or 4 days afterwards.
Yes.
But you just, the downpour of soot commences, twig, clatter, tumble of jackdaw eggs. I mean, you just summarise it as it unfolds from there. Now, it's a very full book of poetry, so it is.
It is. Well, you see, the way I would say it, Keith, Groundswell is a big book because it's celebrating County Galway first and foremost. And County Galway, of course, is a big county with diverse landscapes. So I'm telling stories in poem form, hopefully beautifully and hopefully lyrically. Stories that go from the Shannon wetlands over around Ballinasloe all the way to, we call the teeming city of the tribes itself, and over to Connemara and the old stone trees that they inspire me. The landscape inspires me. And of course we go north into Castle Blakeney, as far as Castle Blakeney, and the bog body that was dug up there 2,500 years ago, or that was found from 2,500 years ago, and then of course down to the deep south of Galway. So, but I moved beyond that as well, I suppose, writing generally about the place where I stay. If I stay in a place, Keith, I tend to be comfortable writing about it. And there's Dublin, of course, now, and I've travelled a good deal in my time, so there are poems with the European aspect: France, Italy, Spain, Switzerland, and then people seem to see in the personal and the local, the universal in my work, which is very rewarding. The critics say that. And they kind of, the poems themselves have travelled to America, get published in America, Canada, Britain, Australia, and get translation to French and Italian and other languages. So in Groundswell, I suppose I'm kind of taking the poems full circle, bringing them back home to Galway. And I hope to be reading at Lochrae Library on Thursday, the 6th of June at 7:30. And again in Ballinasloe on Literature Day there on the 19th of October. So if you don't mind me putting in those two plugs.
Absolutely. And Joe, you drop me an email indeed closer to the time. But the 6th of June you're going to be at Lochrae Library. What time will you be there?
That'll be 7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Listen, Patrick, lovely to have you on board. It's a great book. It's available in Use and Choosing in Lochrae and all other bookstores indeed around the country. Groundswell, new and selected poems by Patrick Deely. And again, one of the nicest ones to come across the desk in a while. That's it for today.